Welcome back here to Miami, Florida, where Donald Trump will be arriving in several hours for a roundtable, we are told, and then a rally here in Miami-Dade County, the only county, by the way, that he lost during the primaries, Florida being one of 4 states where Trump is putting out TV ads. I want to go now, though, to Washington, where Trump currently is. That's where we also find NBC's Hans Nichols in front of RNC headquarters in D.C. As, by the way, just across town, the Congressional Black Caucus, members of that caucus are lining up to respond to Donald Trump's birther remarks earlier on today. Let's listen into that for a couple of minutes. I believe they're in the intros now, so we'll listen in and then we'll go to Hans.
As the Political Action Committee, to talk about what I believe is a sad day for America, when we have a presidential candidate who has utilized a birther issue against the first African-American president. And he's been consistent and persistent about whether or not this president was a citizen of the United States. He's been doing this for over 8 years. And then, as he continues to do, he continues to con the American people. He's a con artist, and he conned the press today. He had told the press that he was going to come and make a statement about his position in regards to the birther incidents. And then he comes out, and for over the first 8 minutes of it, just promoting his hotel. Promoting his hotel for his business interests.
Right.
And then he brings forward individuals who we all thank them for their being heroes and fighting and defending this country. And they have the right, because this is the greatest country that this planet has ever seen, they have a right to choose whatever candidate they want. But he used them basically to be part of his con to the American people. So what he did then, at the very end, is just say that another lie, an out lie, which he's got to be called on because this is not the first time he has lied. He continues to lie. So to lie and say that the birther movement was started by Hillary Clinton and he was finishing it, and that he was born in America and then walk off, has got to stop. He's lied and he's divided this country enough. He lied about Muslims, saying that he saw thousands of them when the World Trade Center went down. He's lied. He's lied about Mexicans. He's lied about women. And members of the Congressional Black Caucus's PAC are not going to take it anymore. This is ridiculous. And if he thinks that African Americans, or any American, because I believe that this should be an insult to all Americans, to every one of us, this should not continue to happen. So we felt that it was important that the members of the Congressional Black Caucus come out and let everyone know where we stand and what we feel about it. So with that, I'd like to bring up the chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus. As I said, I want to be clear on this. I'm chairman of the PAC. This has nothing to do with anything else but the PAC. But we have a person who's a member of the board of the PAC who is the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, nothing to do with the foundation, but chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, from the gentleman from North Carolina, G.K. Butterfield.
Thank you, Congressman Meeks, and let me thank all of you from the press for responding so quickly. This was breaking news about 90 minutes ago, and we sent out the invitation, and you have responded, so thank you very much. I am indeed the chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus, but I come to you today in my capacity as a member of the board of the Congressional Black Caucus Political Action Committee. This is a disgusting day. Donald Trump is a disgusting fraud. By any definition, Donald Trump is a disgusting fraud. He started this silliness years ago by saying that President Obama is not an American citizen. He had no proof of it. And so he started this disgusting behavior 7 or 8 years ago, questioning the president's citizenship. He would not have done that to a Mitt Romney. He would not have done that to a John McCain or any other white who was running for president of the United States, but he has leveled this criticism against President Obama. And so he has now been told by his advisors that he's not going to win the presidency unless he can reach out to African-American voters. His numbers are in the single digits, and they will remain in the single digits. But his advisors are telling him that unless he reaches out to African-American voters, he will lose this election. So instead of being the statesman that he should be, instead of going before the cameras today and apologizing to President Obama and apologizing to the American people for his fraudulent behavior, he simply comes to the microphone, and I will quote what he said. He said, quote, President Obama was born in the United States, period. And then he takes his seat and then gives a guided tour of the Trump Hotel to the news media that was assembled. That is disgusting. The Congressional Black Caucus Political Action Committee finds it disgusting. Every American needs to understand that this man is a fraud. He is an insult to the intellect of the American people. We must defeat him in November.
Thank you, sir.
To also speak on this deplorable act of Donald Trump, because that's what it was, deplorable, is the assistant leader of the Democratic Caucus, the gentleman from South Carolina, Jim Clyburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me thank all of you for being here. You know, I have been doing a lot of thinking recently about where we are as a country, where we have been as a country, and what we can expect in the future as a country. And one of the things that we're all used to in this business is dog whistles. But the thing that we are not used to, and I'm finding it very difficult to getting used to, are the howls of wolves. These are howls. These are not whistles. These are in-your-face kinds of efforts on the part of one man who is utilizing, I should say misusing, the media in order to heap indignities upon the President of these United States. This is not just about a contest for the presidency. This man is on a mission to heap as much insult on this president, to do as much as he possibly can to delegitimize his presidency, and to play into a narrative that has been floated in this country for over 200 years. A narrative that he is very much a part of trying to fulfill by delegitimizing this president. And I think that the American people, and hopefully the media, and I used to be a part of the media, and I know how media can be misused. And I would hope that our media will begin to focus on informing the American people rather than to regurgitate what this man has to say about anything. And so this is very, very serious, because as I said to a lot of people, we will look back on November 9th and we may find ourselves, because of what we could have done and did not do, regretting that we failed to do so. So let's not give ourselves any chance of being regrettable or regretful. Let's do what is necessary now to expose this man for the fraud that he really is. Thank you.
Next is the Congresswoman from the great state of California, Barbara Lee.
Thank you very much. Let me just say a couple of things. First of all,
Donald Trump's presidential campaign has been based on the birther movement, which he founded. Make no mistake, he founded the birther movement, and that catapulted into his campaign for the presidency. Secondly, as we learned, as we knew, but as we heard today, Donald Trump lies. Can we afford a president who lies to develop our agenda as it relates to national security, as it relates to our domestic agenda here in our own country? I don't think so. The world has got to be able to trust somebody in that White House, not someone who continues to lie over and over and over again. Thirdly, this campaign, unfortunately, we have seen what the birther movement really means, unfortunately, and that is to delegitimize our first African-American president. And it's not working. It's not working, but I think that this is a moment, it's a defining moment for all of those who want to denounce bigotry and racism to step forward now and to really demand first that Donald Trump stop it, but secondly, to demand an apology from this man, because this is what his presidential campaign has been about. So our work now should be about unifying the country and moving forward with a referendum on bigotry. And I think the rest of the country will understand that that's the moment we're in and begin to really see him for the fraud that he is. Thank you again.
From New York, Hakeem Jeffries.
I represent the 8th Congressional District in New York. I'm proud to serve as the whip of the Congressional Black Caucus. I'm here today in my capacity as a board member of the Congressional Black Caucus PAC.
All right, you have been taking a look there at members of the Congressional Black Caucus responding to Donald Trump's birther comments earlier today. Not a sanctioned event from the CBC, part of the PAC, but members of Congress obviously responding there. I want to bring in now April Ryan, the White House correspondent and D.C. bureau chief for the American Urban Radio Networks. April, give me your reaction to what you're hearing just in these last 10 to 20 minutes here. In your view, is this going to help galvanize minority turnout for Hillary Clinton?
I believe it will, but I think it's galvanizing against Donald Trump. I think that's more what it's about. African Americans that I've talked to today via Twitter, via email, just reading what's going on social media and watching the news, people are very upset. And it's not just African Americans as well. Many people, I have friends who are white who are saying this is hypocritical and also racist. So it's something that has deep roots with Donald Trump. And African Americans were very upset when it first happened to challenge this man because they believe that he was not born in this country because his father is Kenyan. Well, there are a lot of other people who've had issues with parentage, and one parent may have been from another country, to include Ted Cruz. So that's the hypocritical portion, and you didn't hear that about Ted Cruz during this last presidential election. And some are saying, he was not a presidential candidate, so they kind of let it slip. But what's being said now is you got to call it out. When it comes up, you got to call it out to stop it right in its tracks. And look at where Donald Trump has garnered attention. He is now possibly he's in position. He's poised to possibly be number 45, the president of the United States. And saying these kind of things are not helpful.
April, hang around. You mentioned he's potentially in position to be number 45. I'm with now Mark Caputo, reporter for Politico, longtime Florida journalist. Mark, when we talk about the race here in Florida, 13%, African-American population here in this state. What is your sense of how this is going to play with voters here in this really crucial swing state?
I would imagine very well. This is an issue
Well, in what sense? What do you mean?
Well, for Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, if you look at her numbers and you look at some of the internal poll numbers, she has less intensity of support among her base than Donald Trump does. And her base is African Americans, Hispanics, and then progressive, liberal, and moderate whites. And what you can see through this is a way in which black Americans, black voters can come out and say, look, this election matters. Because what we found over time in Florida is that Obama would win. He won 2 elections in a row in Florida, won the White House. But then when other candidates would try to mirror that success and use the Obama machine, they found out that the Obama machine without Obama was no machine. this is a good way to kind of re-energize that coalition to come out and vote in force for Hillary Clinton. She's getting the margins of support, but the question is she going to get the turnout to make it a big difference?
So one of the people that she's deploying on the campaign trail in just less than 90 minutes from now, really, just over an hour from now, Michelle Obama will be speaking. She will be out on the campaign trail, and a lot of focus on what the First Lady will say. April, you have covered the Obama presidency, both Obamas, for a long time. What do you think she's going to do? What can we expect from her at 3 o'clock?
Well, you know, the First Lady, during the Democratic National Convention, she received the most percentage points as far as ratings for her speech, and then it was Bernie Sanders. She is a rock star on the road, whether it's by herself on her issues, whether it's supporting her husband, and now with Hillary Clinton. She is a strong person for this party when it comes to, for the Democratic Party, when it comes to bringing in millennials and black women and women. People relate to her. She's very relatable. Hillary Clinton has heart, but she's not necessarily a politician. Many people are saying after that Democratic convention speech, Michelle Obama could actually run for something, but I don't think she wants to. So Hillary Clinton really needs Michelle Obama, who could possibly, in a side caveat, being snarky in a cute way, I guess you would say, she may even bring that up on the campaign trail today about what Donald Trump said. I mean, she's very clear. She has been very clear in saying things before, so I wouldn't be surprised if she did it today.
April, Mark, hang around. I want to go back to Hans Nichols now, who is in Washington, D.C., outside the RNC headquarters there on Capitol Hill. Hans, we understand there's some movement now from Donald Trump.
Donald Trump was here for about 13, 14 minutes here at the Republican National Committee, right behind me in the shadow of these House office buildings. He came, he thanked, and now the question is, Hallie, how much cleanup will there be to do? You think of what the RNC's role is in this cycle. Number one, they're a command center. They are organizing over 1,000 field ground troops out there in battleground states trying to get people in the polls. But they have a second role, Hallie, and that is they need to keep members of Congress and allay their concerns, their fear that Donald Trump will drag them down from the top of the ticket. So many other times where Donald Trump has come here, or one of his campaign surrogates, Governor Pence, was just here earlier this week, they've had a conversation about where they are in the polls. The crucial thing to look forward in the next 24, 48 hours, to what extent do House Republicans that are in difficult seats, do they distance themselves from Donald Trump's latest return to birtherism and then his walk away from it? Now, what the Trump campaign will say, and they came out here and talked to us earlier, Donald Trump raised this question, he answered it. Asked and answered. I get the distinct sense that they want to move on. The question is, will House Republicans and will the entire Republican apparatus allow him to move on, or will they be forced to do a little cleanup? Hallie?
But Hans, you say the campaign came out and said asked and answered. He asked it for 5 years incorrectly and then answered it in a sentence. Do you get a sense that they're aware of that?
They're aware of that, but they do want to try to move on. And it seems as though that they say we are done talking about this for now. You know, in some ways, Hallie, what we've seen here in the last 2 weeks prior to this event that sort of started with that interview with the Washington Post, what we've seen is a more disciplined September Trump. What we saw in the last 20 hours is this sort of July, August, chaotic, confusing Trump. What House lawmakers want to see, and this was the message both you and I so clearly got here on Wednesday when Governor Pence was visiting, they want to see the discipline and they want to see a conversation on the issues. They don't want to see Donald Trump take this off topic. Whether or not he muddled that for himself, I think we'll be able to tell in the next 24, 48 hours.
Quick question back to Mark Caputo before we wrap up here. We were talking with Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz about ground game. Hillary Clinton is superior to Donald Trump apparently right now when it comes to ground game, field offices on the ground, but she's not beating him in certain recent polls.
Well, ground game means that you've got the infrastructure in place to get the people to the polls.
Right.
And there's evidence that the RNC has done a great job doing just that.
The quickest answer ever, Mark. Thank you, because I'm wrapping you because Congressman Rangel is out here now. Let's listen in.
That in their minds, you have to be a European American in order to become president. What I say is bigger than today and the election. There are other people that are affected by this other than African American. There are a lot of people in this country that are not European background. And somebody somewhere will be plotting to say Not entitled to aspire to become president without going through what we're going through now. And so I conclude by saying, if you're teaching history in the lower grades or a scholar in the university, if you're a Catholic or a Protestant or a Hindu or Muslim or Jewish, if you love this country, it's no telling where you are on this list. It's not a black question. It's an American question. And so let me thank those of us who are immediately affected because of our backgrounds to say that I do hope this is not reported as a black issue. It should be an American issue. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
From New Jersey, Bonnie Watson Coleman.
Thank you, Greg. I want to thank everyone who's here with us, and I want to thank you all for covering this. I wanted to say something in response to what Representative Sheila Jackson Lee said. Why Trump didn't answer that question when he was interviewed by the Post was because he needed people to come to the opening of his hotel. Because for Trump, it's only about his business. It's only about what is good for him. So we know from what we've experienced that Trump has acted in a way that suggests he's a bigot. We know that he's acted in a way that suggests that he's an out-and-out liar. And we know that he has presented himself in a way with lack of knowledge and a really strong question as to whether or not he has either the temperament or the intellect to carry on as the president of the United States of America. So to paraphrase Maya Angelou, the Queen, when she says, if someone presents himself to you the first time, believe it. He cannot continue to walk back from the mistakes that he's made the first time, and that's treated as a legitimate action. It is not. He doesn't believe the things he's forced to say now in order to curry favor with people who are never going to support him. And so we stand here because we want our communities, not just our black community, women, gays and lesbians and Latinos and Muslims and everyone else to understand there is an urgency associated with what we're going to do this November, and that we need to get about doing it, because the worst thing that could happen to the future of the United States of America is to kill it in its tracks with this person as president. Thank you.
From the U.S. Virgin Islands, Stacey Plaskett.
Thank you very much, Congressman Meeks, and thank you for your leadership in bringing us all together. Thank you all for being out here. I stand here not only as a member of the Congressional Black Caucus Political Action Committee, but I stand here as a citizen. I stand here as a black woman. I stand here as a mother of 5 children. And I want you all to know that his absence was noted. Donald Trump's absence was noted at the Black Women's Agenda, where he was invited to speak along with Hillary Clinton this morning. He did not come. He's right here in Washington, D.C., not far away, and had the time to come, but did not choose to come to speak with the largest voting bloc that comes out in percentage, black women. Hundreds of black women were gathered and invited him to come to speak, and only Hillary Clinton showed up. I want to all remind you, he was invited to speak at the NAACP. Did he come? Did he think that our vote was important enough? He did not think we were important enough then, and he doesn't think we're important enough now. He's only addressing this because he was forced to address it. And did he address it in a manner that shows that he was mistaken and incorrect? No, he did not. He has moved on, he is making his money, and he wants to do it off of the backs of all of us. We can't let that happen. In November, we need to come out. We need to bring people, bring your children, bring your parents, bring your grandparents, and stop this man from the madness that he has taken America through. Thank you.
From the state of Michigan, Brenda Lawrence.
Hello, I'm Brenda Lawrence from the great city of Detroit. You know, Donald Trump came to my city, and the question was asked, what do you have to lose, African Americans? I can tell you today is another example of what I have to lose. The arrogance of this candidate to have the audacity to feel that he validates the citizenship of the President of the United States because he said so. What happens when my child or your child arises to levels of success and leadership in America? Is this going to be repeated until Donald Trump validates our right and our ability to serve as a president of this country? It is not acceptable. I'm wondering when this country is going to awaken from this reality show, the disrespect to me as a woman, to me as an African American, to my children. You know, if you're discriminated against as a woman, you should find another job. A woman working is an inconvenience. To say if I'm Hispanic that I'm a killer and a rapist until I prove different. To say if I'm a Muslim, then I must be a terrorist until I prove to Donald Trump differently. This is one man in America, but we as American citizens and as African Americans, Latinos and women, independents, we have the opportunity to say no. Not in this America. We will not be discriminated against. We will not be treated as second-class citizens. We, women, Latinos, we, African Americans, we independents, people who choose to worship whichever way they choose, we're going to stand up. And the best way, as the President of the United States said, we're not going to boo. We're not going to cry. We're not going to stand here and say, I'm insulted. We're going to vote. And we're going to vote and send a message to not only the United States of America, but to the world that's looking at us and say, this is not the America that Donald Trump is trying to create. It's the America that embraces all of us. Thank you so much.
From Wisconsin, Gwen Moore.
My name is Gwen Moore, and I'm from Wisconsin. Let's be clear. This is disrespectful. It's arrogant. It's an effort to delegitimize the most iconic African-American in the African-American history. Let's also recall that Donald Trump demanded to see Barack Obama's transcripts from Harvard. And it's not just a message to Barack Obama. Let's be clear about that. It's a dog whistle to all Americans, and especially African Americans. If indeed Barack Obama is not intelligent, if indeed Barack Obama is not legitimate, then you striving up the corporate ladder or striving to achieve something in stake of how can you feel good about yourself as a sixth grader if you're an African American? This is a dog whistle to all other Americans who are not African Americans to say, see, you're all right. You know, don't worry about hiring that black woman or that black man, because after all, the most iconic African American in history is indeed not worthy of the American dream. Be clear. This is not just about degrading the reputation of Barack Obama. It's about degrading the American dream for all African Americans. And as Martin Luther King Jr. said, when there's injustice done to one of us, there's injustice done to all of us. Thank you.
From Georgia, Hank Johnson.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You know, Donald Trump created the birther issue long before he became a candidate for the Republican nomination. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he stoked that issue, and he parlayed that issue above the 16, 17 people running in the primary, Republican primary, and he won fair and square the majority of the Republican votes based on the birther issue. And so he became the Republican nominee for president of this country, and he has continued to stoke the fires of polarization and divisiveness based on the birther issue and extend it to other issues. And even to this day, 56 days before the election, he continues to parlay this birther issue to to suck everything he can out of it for his own benefit, even coming to Washington, D.C. today while the Congressional Black Caucus is hosting its annual legislative conference with thousands of African Americans in attendance. Just down the block, he's still dealing with the birther issue, playing with it, toying with people's sensitivities, and blowing the dog whistle to his minions, to his supporters. And America, are we gonna let Donald Trump use this issue all the way through November the 8th? Because I'm gonna tell you that's what he's gonna do. If you don't think that he's finished with it today, then I got some land for you in Florida. This man is gonna parlay, he's gonna continue to use this birther issue and all of the other innuendos that derive from it to divide Americans against each other and to keep from talking about the real issues of concern to Americans. I mean, here we are today in this policy conference, and we're having to deal with Donald Trump's birther issue. And the press, I know that you all were there, he's a master entertainer. It's hard to resist what he has to offer. And so the press has been there. We appreciate you all coming here to hear our views about what's really important for America. Because what's good for one of us is good for all of us. And it's time for us not to be divided. It's time for us to come together, do what's in the best interest of this country, our great democracy. The freedom that we enjoy here is under assault by Donald Trump and the forces that would elect him if we let them. So I want to thank everyone for being here today to get the message out that there's more to life than entertainment, than reality TV, reality campaigning, which is what Donald Trump is all about. We're here to take care of the nation's business, to deal with Zika, to deal with gun violence, to deal with Flint, Michigan, and lead in the pipes throughout this country, to deal with our infrastructure. Those are issues that are so important. Fundamental and comprehensive tax reform to get those big corporations paying their fair share of the tax dollars so that the burden doesn't fall on the backs of middle-class people. Those are the issues that we should be talking about. Those are the issues that Donald Trump needs to be held accountable to during this first debate and on into the remainder of the election. So thank you all so much.
Want to go? Yeah. Okay. From Texas, Mark Veazey.
Look, I'm sick and tired of Donald Trump not being held accountable. He's been given a free pass this entire election, and he needs to be held accountable. He hasn't talked anything about how he's going to bring jobs back into this country. He talks in very general terms. He has absolutely no working knowledge when it comes to foreign policy. And he did not apologize to the president for questioning his citizenship. Enough is enough. People need to hold this man accountable for what he's doing. People need to tell him that this presidential election is serious. We need to talk about the real issues that are at hand. And it is absolutely disgusting, the things that he is saying about Mexican Americans, African Americans, other people in this country, the handicapped. And he has offered absolutely no substance whatsoever to this race. Think of one credible thing that Donald Trump has said since he has started running that has made any sense whatsoever. But he came to Washington, D.C. today to brag on his hotel and talk about lining his pockets. Enough is enough. Hold this man accountable for the terrible, nasty, mean-spirited things that he's saying.
And last, the former Chief of Police in the city of Orlando and soon to be a colleague here in the United States Congress, Val Demings from Florida.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. You know, I spent 27 years as a law enforcement officer. I had the honor of serving as the Chief of Police. I've seen the best that America has to offer, and I've seen the worst that America has to offer. And what I can tell you today, based on everything that we've seen and we've heard, Donald Trump is not the best that America has to offer. At a time when people are struggling, they're hurting, they're suffering, they're afraid. Instead of coming up with solutions that will make people's lives better and improve the quality of life for Americans, Donald Trump is doing everything that he can to divide. He's a hater, he's a bigot, and he's a racist.
Amen.
And I've learned as a law enforcement officer to call it like I see it. We can do better. Just like Americans don't get a pass, we should not allow Donald Trump to get a pass on this issue. I watched Orlando. I was the police chief when President Obama was elected. And I saw people who represented places from around the world celebrating his election. And you know why? Because it was representative that America and all that the promises that it holds had gotten closer to really living the American dream. And for this man, who has never, at least that I've seen, proven or done anything to really help anybody else, to delegitimize the first African-American president, to criticize him, to demand the audacity, to demand that he show his papers, we can do better than that. And we're going to hold Donald Trump accountable. Thank you so much.
Let me just conclude. This is, as many speakers said, this is not an African-American issue. This is an American issue. And every American should be speaking up about this. Dr. King once said that if you are silent in times of need, then you're as guilty as the guilty person. This is an American issue that all must come to the forefront. Let's just look at what the candidates have indicated. One comes with, let's make our country great again. When is he talking about? What period is he talking about? What is he talking about? Or is that a hitting message? Some say, let's take our country back. Back from who? The other candidate says, we are stronger together. We are stronger together. And what makes the United States of America the greatest country is that we accept and bring everybody together. That's the example that we want to show. We want to show that you can be of different ethnic backgrounds. You can be of different religions. You can come from different parts of the world. And we can then come in a democratic society and live a better life and not demonize individuals as Donald Trump is. So let us be stronger together and make this country a more perfect union. We can do that collectively by not walking, but by running to the polls on November 8th. Let's make sure that an individual who's not speaking American values, who is really saying deplorable things throughout this campaign, does not make America look deplorable. Thank you. Well, any questions anybody have? We should have made this clear by now. So if there's no questions, thank you.
On the cam. Everybody, I'm Thomas Roberts, live here at MSNBC World Headquarters in New York, and we've been watching the reaction of the Congressional Black Caucus PAC. This is taking place in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump was there earlier today. Much hyped appearance about what he was going to say about leading the birther conspiracy theory about President Obama. So while you were hearing from those members of Congress, Donald Trump simultaneously was walking up those stairs after announcing this morning that he was surrendering his conspiracy theory about birtherism.
Hillary Clinton and her campaign of 2008 started the birther controversy. I finished it. I finished it. You know what I mean. President Barack Obama was born in the United States, period. Now we all want to get back to making America strong and great again.
All right, so there has been much reaction to this, and we want to give you a look inside the Fairfax, Virginia event where the First Lady, Michelle Obama, will be appearing later today, coming up in about an hour's time.